Hello, so this is an optional video that you don't have to watch for this class, but this is a verbal explanation of how to write a literary analysis. To be honest, you guys have been writing them all year. This is just the first formal one you're writing. So that one you had to write, this one, remember this one? Where you identify the reading skill and then answer the anchor question and then connect the inference answer to the anchor question to a theme. And let's see the example. So this contrast and contradiction, where I actually walk through it and add more on, this is a great example of a literary analysis. But what you're doing now is you're actually turning it into an essay. So this is different. So what you're going to be doing this time, where did my page go? Where was I even at? I found my page. So what you're going to be doing this time is you're actually putting it into an essay form. And the key difference too is you're adding onto it by developing the theme throughout the book more. So this is the outline you're going to fill out. And ideally at this point, you should have your book about done. If not, finish it, because you want to talk about how the theme is different throughout the book, throughout various parts of the book. So for example, you just start off by telling me about your book. So, and then actually, let's just check out this example. So this is one I wrote on The Animal Farm, which is a book that I read with sophomores sometimes. So I started off with just the title of my book and some background information. Animal Farm by George Orwell is an allegory about the Russian Revolution, communism, and Stalin. It's about a bunch of farm animals who decide to kick out the humans and run their own farm, only to end up being controlled by a pig named Napoleon instead. So brief overview. I'm totally okay with spoilers and literary analysis, but you don't have to spoil things if that's not your style. And then you have your thesis. A theme in this book is that once someone has power, they take more and more power away from others, lying and stealing and becoming evil. Also, just a side note, notice dependent clause, notice participles. Very exciting. Check out my grammar. Okay, so that first one is your first paragraph. Second paragraph is you give one reason why the theme is your theme. And usually you want to start off in the beginning because throughout the essay you want to analyze how it develops. So I put, in the beginning of the book, Old Major, a pig, warns the animals to not let the power make them evil. And notice this power make them evil connects directly to this lying and stealing and becoming evil. And then I introduce my evidence. Old Major gives a speech about rebellion to the animals, and he talks about how once the animals have overthrown the man, they have to be careful to not act like they are the ones in power. And then I have my evidence. Even when you have conquered him, do not adopt his vices. Now that I'm reading it the second time, I need to put, he says, vices are, and so then here I explain my evidence. Vices are evil things that people do that hurt others or hurt themselves, like drinking, spending too much, beating other people up, etc. Old Major is warning the animals that once they have thrown out man from the farm and have taken over, they need to be careful to not start acting like man and doing lazy things like drinking too much, sleeping in, beating others up, etc. Old Major ends by warning his fellow animals, above all, no animal must ever tyrannize over his own kind. Thus, Old Major emphasizes the importance of being equal and fair in our dealings with others and not lording our power over others or becoming great big bullies. Thus, this is a great idea. However, it doesn't play out very well throughout the book. My conclusion needs to connect better to the beginning. So, throughout the book, as the animals with power become more and more evil and seek more power. There we go. Now it connects back to the theme. Old Major eventually dies, and Napoleon, so this is my third paragraph now. And Napoleon and Snowball take over leading the rebellion. As the ones in power, they begin to show signs of becoming like man and being bullies and evil. At first, Napoleon and Snowball lead the animals well and delegate the work, so this is my introduction to my evidence. Everyone is happy and works together. However, signs of evil begin to arise when the milk disappears, and it turns out that the pigs, led by Napoleon and Snowball, have been eating it. Another pig, Squealer, says that because the pigs are the ones keeping the farmer from coming back, they need the milk, and he even convinces the animals that the pigs need all the apples. As the book explains, the importance of keeping the pigs in good health was all too obvious, so it was agreed without further argument that the animal and the windfall apples should be reserved for the pigs. And then I explain my evidence. Here we begin to see the decline of the pigs, the animals who are now in charge. They are now starting to use their power to take things away from other animals, such as the milk and apples. Here they are starting to become like man and doing the exact thing that Old Major warned against. So now I'm kind of explaining how this evidence supports that power makes people evil, basically. Then I introduce this evidence. Eventually, as time wears on, Napoleon and Snowball start fighting between themselves, and Snowball ends up getting chased off the farm. Napoleon sets up his own little force of dogs to enforce his will. Now, instead of them all being equal, the animals are subjected to whatever Napoleon wants them to do. As Squealer explains, no one believes more firmly than Comrade Napoleon that all animals are equal. He would be only too happy to let you make your decisions for yourselves. But sometimes you might make the wrong decisions, comrades, and then where should we be? So then I go on explaining. I might be starting to bore you. You can read this, but notice just how the first paragraph was in the beginning. Second paragraph was an explanation of how it developed. This third paragraph is at the end when Napoleon is like awful, and it actually ends with Napoleon being like man. So I wrap it up with how the power basically made Napoleon greedy, and he turned out to become evil and killed people, and it was not a good ending. And thus, the theme is more power. Power makes you get more power and become evil. The end. So that's how you analyze the development of a theme throughout a literary analysis. Feel free to check back to this example often. Make sure you're in depth and you use good evidence.